Okay. Oh, slight warning. I just started like a small, tiny little like cough occasionally. It probably is not a thing, but if I cough a little bit, I'm fine. That's that. Just I'm not super disturbing to all of you. Okay. So yoga. As I turn on the right playlist, so that I'm not doing bizarre things. Okay. There we go. Hi, good afternoon. It's not for you. And a really good like deep hip opening practice today. Pretty stoked on it. We'll work in a little bit of like bounce play and maybe like kind of take flight a little bit towards the end. I mentioned a couple of times reading that book, Think Again. And it's been really interesting to kind of process some of the theories there and how they pertain to just like our movement practice here. So there was a study done with a couple of elementary school kids, and they, if you give them a sheet of paper and you say draw a house, we're probably going to draw something very similar, right? And probably pretty basic. Like if you say draw a house, okay, cool, a little triangle and a square, maybe a chimney with some smoke and a door or something. And for most of us, that'll stay pretty simple. But if you have a repeated assignment of like, okay, now go ahead and draw another house. Now draw another house. Now that you've looked at all of these other houses, draw one maybe inspired by that or different from these houses. Draw a house that's a little bit more like your house. Draw a little house that's a little bit more like a house that you wish that you lived in. And over the repetition of this exercise, houses will become more detailed. They will become different from drawing to drawing. And that's because when we examine things a little bit more intensely, we do discover new information, and we discover the ways in which our own experiences are significantly different than other people's. So when we get deep into these practices and continuing on with these rituals and going over and over again, we see yet again more and more that those words of Mr. Iyengar, that this practice should never be the same pose twice, rings so true. There's always this new experience, always something new to find in it. So we'll get into finding some good deep stuff in our hips today. Let's take index finger and thumb together and start with face brushing, going from the center of your forehead outwards towards your temples a few times. And then going from the sides of your nose out to your temples. From the temples down to your chin, along your jawline. And the sides of your nose down to your chin, along your laugh line. And then massaging underneath and behind your ears, feeling for the soft spot that's back there, and then lifting up from the bony spot. And a little bit more length into your neck, into your back. Keeping that length as you release your hands down into your lap, closing your eyes if it's comfortable to you, and working through a few deep rounds of breath. We'll begin practice by releasing the sound of Om 3 times together, starting with a big breath in through your nose, big exhale through your mouth, and again like that, big breath in, big breath out. And then for Om. you begin to open your eyes, if you've been sitting up on anything, go ahead and move it away, and then take your legs and slide them over towards your right side. So I like to come where my lower leg is kind of resting on the arch of my bottom foot, but that's fairly arbitrary. It's not all that necessary. Take your right hand behind your back and see if you can hold onto your left bicep, and then just leave your hand down. And then lift your chest up. Drop your right elbow and right shoulder down, and then release your left ear towards your left shoulder. You want to push your right hand into your left arm into your right hand. This will get a little bit spicier. One more exhale. And relax that arm. Lift your head up. You're going to take your right hand over to your, or left hand over to your right knee, and your right hand behind you, and take a little twist over towards your feet. And then a little twist away from your feet. And release your twist. And we're just going to swing the legs around the other way. So it's a little bit uneven in the hips. It's okay to have one up. You're going to have your right hand down, slide your left arm behind you, see if you can hold on to your bicep. And then press maybe a little bit of your hand into your bicep and your bicep into your hand, but open your left shoulder and release your right ear down towards your right shoulder. Two more breaths. Start to relax that, lift your head up. We're going to twist over to the legs. A little bit awkward. And then slightly more satisfying to twist away from the legs. And coming back to the center. You're going to take your legs out in front of you. I'm going to lean back to my hands, lean back to my fingertips, and then see about taking the right ankle up onto the left knee and starting to push my heart up. Now, if your wrists are tender, just come straight up to fingertips. We're going to be on the hands a little bit, so maybe not starting off causing yourself any grief. But start to lift your chest up. If you're feeling really open, that could be your hips going much closer to your foot, and then lifting your heart upwards towards your shin. I'm really in the sun there. Maybe you can see me better back here. Good. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And then slide that foot away so you can unhook the ankle. And we'll take the other ankle up and lift the chest upwards towards your shin. You might have your foot coming closer to your hip. You might want your hands in closer towards your hip. The more space that you get, still trying to lift the heart up and just find your breath. One more breath in. Deep breath out. And unwind your legs. You're going to take the legs out in front of you. Lift your toes. Take your arms out, interlace your fingers, and press your palms up. We're getting a little bit longer through the spine. As you do so, try to soften your low ribs in. So you'll see I didn't round the back, but I went from just kind of like splayed outwards to tucked and wrapped in. Take two more breaths like this. And then relax your arms. Maybe even take your legs and bend them a little bit, unless it feels fine to leave them extended out in front of you. This could be more supportive. You're going to take your hands and shake your fingers out. And then flick water off of your hands. And then take your, I'm going to come up closer to you because I feel like I can't see back here. So you're going to take your your fingers into your armpits and just relax your elbows down. Hi, Jessica. And then take your thumbs into your armpits and then relax your elbows down. Go stretch your thumbs a little bit more. Good. And then take your hands and shake them out again and flick water off of them. And then you're going to take them back behind your body. We're going to push the chest up. Now, you'll have your knees bent. You can keep the hips down as you push the heart up, or start to push the hips up in line with your knees and your shoulders to get a little bit of lift here. And then start to draw your hips back. They're going to come back in between your hands. Now, I've got my hips on the floor. I've got my legs extended strong. You could keep your hips on the ground. You don't have to lift them up, but try pushing down into your hands so you feel your hips get just a little bit later. So you just barely lift it up, or you could lift up all the way. I kind of got to scooch back a little bit more for that. You don't have to keep your hips off of the ground, but maybe a little bit of lightness. And we're going to go between these two places. So you're going to come forward, push your chest up, maybe push your hips up, and then you're going to pull back. You might let your hips graze on the floor, or you might hover. And we'll do a few more like that. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, pulling back. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, stay long in the back. One more if you're still with us. And then go ahead and set your hips down. Shake out your hands again. So we've got a lot of power going on in the arms. We're going to use that power again. As you come down onto your back, we're going to come into Happy Baby. And when you get into Happy Baby, usually we take this, madam, towards the end of practice. But I do want you to try, if you need to hold on behind your thighs, hold on behind your thighs. So try to push your legs into your hands. A little bit more active at this point in practice. And then you're going to keep the legs where they are. Take your hands on the insides of your legs and push your hands up like you're going to press your palms into the ceiling. And feeling more of your body press down into your back, into the floor. Keeping up with the breath. One more inhale. One more exhale. And you can relax that. Bring your feet towards each other. Hold on to your shins. Try to rock yourself up to a seat. Maybe you hover for a moment. And then rock it back. And then up to a seat. Ooh. And then back. And then one more time up to a seat. Ooh. And you can relax it. And we're going to come back into our hands and knees. So swinging the legs back. And you can even be on fingertips here so that we're not pressing down into the wrist when we don't need to. Let's work through a few cat and cow. Drop the belly and look up, and then round through the spine. Inhaling. And exhaling. One more like this. And then coming back to neutral. If you ever feel like you wish your arms were longer, I want you to grab blocks or books or something and put them underneath your hands. Let's take the right foot outside of the right hand. And we're going to work through another few cat and cow. This is going to be weird. But seeing if you can feel a little bit more of that lift of your chest. It's harder to move in the hips. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, round. Two more. Feeling that slightly awkward shift around in the hips. Then when you come back to neutral here, wiggle your right foot in a little bit closer. Take your left arm up, taking a twist. Now, I could go a lot longer in my stance there. You might be able to too. And then take that hand behind your back. I'm going to go back of the hand into the small of my back just to press the shoulder a little bit more open. One more exhale. And then pulling that right leg back, coming back to my hands and knees in that lizard pose, that step of the left foot outside of the left hand. It doesn't have to go very far forward. It'll be a little bit harder to take that cat and cow, but let's work through that. Inhale, looking up, lifting your heart. Exhale, rounding. It's a little bit easier to round the tailbone there. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, rounding in. 2 more. And coming back to a more neutral back. Maybe you can start by wiggling your left foot forward a little bit, leave the right hand down and take the left arm up. Strong pressure into your left hand or left foot so that you can keep the hips working, keep them engaged. And then bringing the left hand behind your back to open up that shoulder a little bit more. One more exhale. And then taking your hands down, bringing this left leg back. And we're going to come down onto our forearms in the Sphinx pose. And pressing actively down into those forearms to keep the chest lifted and the shoulders open. My elbows are right under my shoulders. I'm not using really any effort to speak of to hold myself up here. It's just a little bit of firmly rooting those forearms down. One more exhale. And then coming down, taking your arms back behind you, interlace your fingers, and come up into Salavasana. Reaching long now, back through the fingers and the toes, forward through the heart. One more breath in. And exhale, relax down. Bring the hands in behind your shoulders, lift your hips, push yourself up, and then come back into downward facing dog. Let's press up here. We won't spend a lot of time, but we'll come back to down dog a few times. So just take a moment to notice how it might change from repetition to repetition. And you're going to look forward and bring your right foot up outside of your right hand. Now it might have only gotten here. We're just going to grab it and give it an extra scoop. And push back in your back leg a little bit more down in your front foot. You might take many steps. So you're going to bring your left foot now outside of your left hand. And you can stay here in a squat, or over time you might start to lower your hips into a squat. We won't stay here long. Take a breath in. And then moving into a fold, so you're going to lift your hips up. And you can leave your feet out wide. They don't have to come to where they might usually. You're going to come up halfway, lift your chest. Exhale, softening down. And then inhale all the way up. I know it's a little weird with your legs out wide, but take your right hand down, reach out longer through your left side. And then come back up. Drop your left arm down, reach out longer through your right side. And then come back up, fold all the way down again. So we're going to bend into the knees, start to step your left foot back into that lizard, into that wide lunge. See if it feels any specific sort of way, maybe a little bit more open now. And then step it back into downward facing dog. And notice the differences between your hips, how this down dog has maybe changed a bit from the last one. And then look forward and step your left foot outside of your left hand, and you can make many scooches, many adjustments there. Push down in the left foot, reach back through the right inner heel. Strong in the legs, reaching forward in the heart, kind of like that cat-cow sort of thing, but not quite. And then your right foot will step forward outside of your right hand, and you come into somewhat of a squat or a lot of a squat. But the feet are pressing down. Take an inhale. And then exhale into a fold. We're going to leave those legs out fairly wide. Come up with your chest. Soften down on your exhale. Come all the way up. Let's take those side bends again. Taking your right hand down, reach your left arm up taller. And then inhaling up, taking your right arm down, reach your left arm up taller. Inhale, coming up, and then exhale, folding down. You're going to start to bend into the knees a little bit to give yourself space to bring your right foot back to the back of your mat. Could be a couple of hops back there. And then push down into your feet. See if you can tuck your left thigh bone back towards your right foot a little bit more. And then finding the hands planting down and stepping back into your downward facing dog. Now bring your toes together. You're going to bend your knees and walk yourself back so that your hips come down onto your heels. Okay, you might just stay here. If you can get your knees out wider than your arms, go for that. If you need to come to a different squat or just take this opportunity to rest in child's pose instead, any variation from your knees, that's absolutely fine. So I've got toes together. I keep running into these blocks. And I want the hips to reach back as my upper body reaches forward. I'm on the inside of my knees here. Try not to lift up high on the heels. I'm letting those rest back too, but they're not coming down towards the ground really. They're going in that direction, but not quite there. And if anybody's watching this and wanted to spring up into a crow pose, this would be a good time to layer that in, but I'll leave that alone for today. I want to work on another arm balance in a little while. And then you'll go ahead and look forward. I find that, actually we're going to do this. We're going to bring your hands in, and then you're going to come into a forward fold down at the back of your mat. Take your right leg behind your left leg. Get a little IT band stretch on the outer right thigh. Put your right foot back where it belongs and cross the left leg behind. A little bit more pressure into the big toe edges of your feet is going to increase the sensation on the outside of that thigh. And then unwind your legs. Bend your knees a little bit so you can walk your hands back out into downward facing dog. And feeling the hips reaching up and away as your arms press down and forward. Maybe you feel a little bit different in this dog. And then bringing your feet outside of your hands. That wide-legged forward fold, or the wide-legged squat again, going down just as deep as it feels good to you. Maybe this time your hands come to your heart. They don't have to. And then we'll come into a fold, lifting your hips up. This time, wiggle your feet a little bit closer to hip width apart or to fist width distance apart. And then lift your belly, lift your heart, lift your arms all the way up. And bring your hands down into your heart. All right, I'm going to switch directions. So I don't have to juggle my right and left. And I'm going to take the left leg back here and come into a high lunge. So I've got my left leg back pretty far. I'm going to reach the arms up, lift and stretch upwards and forwards through the chest. Nice big stretch into that back leg, pushing back in the back big toe. Lift up maybe a little bit taller and then exhale, float it down into warrior two. Excuse me. So in your warrior two, we push down in that front foot and push into the pinky toe as we get this outer thigh wrapping. And we're going to take this back foot and wrap it in. So we've got horse stance. Might have to adjust my feet a little bit, but I'm pushing down into the pinky toe edge of the foot to kind of wrap and use the outer leg muscles. And then you're going to take the arms and you're either going to reach the fingertips down to the floor or interlace your fingers and reach them down to the floor. I'm not going to take the chest forward. My heart lifts up a little bit, but I'm not gonna drop forward. I'll show from this side. So I'm here, and I'm powering through the chest, trying to release my upper butt down. Push. See how my knees and toes don't go directly out to the side, but they're open at about the same angle. All right. One more exhale. And then release the legs, release the arms. And we're gonna go back to warrior two. So I'm from here, I'm gonna back out here. And then peaceful warrior, lift it up. So feeling strong in that right leg. And straighten the front leg, let the hips turn forward slightly, and come into triangle pose. See if you can push down a little bit more into both of your feet, lengthen your ears away from your tailbone. And then look down at your right foot. I'm going to bend into this knee, take the hand down, and pivot up onto the back toes. You can take the right arm up or leave the right hand at your thigh. And now as you look down and forward, this is going to be our standing balance, is to come into standing splits. You can bring bring blocks underneath your hands, but see, even if you don't go down very far, if maybe you can just balance on your foot, and maybe that's just coming to fingertips. Maybe you can bring your hands to your shin. And then put both feet down, forward fold, bounce out whatever you need. Lift your belly, lift your heart, lift your arms all the way up. And then bringing your hands down. We'll come into a lunge on the other side. So step your right foot back. And you're going to lift your inner thighs here, strong in that back leg. So you're really opening up the front of this right hip. Taking the arms up. Push back through the right big toe mound. Maybe reaching up a little bit taller and longer through the spine, and then floating down into warrior two. So check out the pushing down in that left foot and how the way that your weight changes on that foot changes the way that this leg is engaged. And then you'll turn the back heel in, and we're going to go into that horse stance with the arms reaching down or the hands together, arms reaching down. Back to the ears lifting up, tailbone dropping down. One more exhale. And then releasing your arms, unwinding, ungrasping, releasing, all of those things. Coming back to warrior two, and I've turned that back heel back quite a bit. Staying low in the legs, lift up peaceful warrior. Find the pressure down into that left foot. And then straightening the leg as you turn the hips forward slightly and come into triangle pose. So I'm not stacking my hips, I'm letting that top hip roll forward. Heart lifting up towards the right hand. Then bending into the left leg, take the right hand down, maybe to a block, pivot up onto the right toes, and take the left arm up. Pull this hip back and press that heel back. Okay. Now coming forward, we're going to come to stand up on the left leg. Doesn't matter if you get the right leg up super high, but can you play with your balance? Can you play with your capacity to stay whatever this is this upright? I don't know. With only one foot on the ground. Maybe still with your breath. And then set both feet down, forward fold. Lift the belly, lift the heart, lift your arms all the way up. And then take your hands down into your heart. Okay. I'm going to face you. I think this will go just a little bit steadier. We're going to step the left leg all the way back, and you can even let's just bring the knee down because it's a little bit easier from there. I'm going to come into this low lizard lunge. Now push down in that front foot. And then relax it and down and relax. So you can see like a little shift, right? And you're feeling that little shift in your inner thighs back here. We're gonna bend into the elbows and try to get the hands down here. I wanna try to slide my right arm underneath the right thigh. Maybe I just lift that up. Maybe I can lift both up. Maybe you can try it with the back knee up. Ooh, I gotta really push my arm into my leg there. Maybe I can fly out for just a moment. And then you can set it down. Good. And then we're gonna start to straight-ish into this front leg, just gently, and then let your head relax down. Relax the back of your neck. And if you wanted to try it again, if you want to go back, maybe you do it with the back knee down, maybe you do it with the back knee up. You can play with that little bit of flight. Flying lizard, no joke, it's a weird one. Okay. And then again, bringing the hips back, and then no fancy focus, just bring your other leg up. Okay. So I want to take a moment to feel this foot pressing down because I need to be able to stand on something. I need to have something supporting me because my arms aren't going to be doing it anymore. And then you'll start to slide down. Maybe taking the one arm out. Maybe taking the both arms out. Maybe trying it with the back knee off of the ground. You got to push down really strong in that front foot. Reach back to the back heel if you're doing it. And then take the hands down. The back knee down. You can straight-ish. Don't worry about getting the leg straight. This is mostly to relax your neck. You can even deliberately leave that left leg bent just so that it's not super wild. And if you wanted to try it again, you could try it again, or you could stay there in that little hamstring stretch. So you've got your pressing options, flying options, or not doing it options. And then bring both knees down. Bring them back in together. Bring the hands to the hips. And curl your toes under little camel pose, like baby, baby, baby camel. Just enough to open the front of those hips. And then release it. Come down to a seat. Swing your legs out in front of you. I'm going to bring the soles of the feet together, the knees out wide, and then come forward. One more exhale. And come on up. And what we're going to do now is we're going to come, actually let's come back to down dog. But now let's go back to down dog. Go ahead and come in here. Wiggle it out. See how this dog feels differently than some of the other dogs you've done today or other days. And then feet outside of your hands. We'll come into a little fold sit. Now, you've got lots. You can stay just a slight bend like this. You might take your hands and hold on to the back of your heels, or use like your thumbs and your fingers to wrap around the back of your heels. You might try to straightish your legs. That's really hard. You might try to get your elbows back behind the crease of your knees to do so. Even harder. A little bit less bendy, but a little bit more strength-like would be to try to take your palms down, fingers towards your heels or behind your heels, and then maybe you come down to sit on your upper arm bone. And as you push the floor away, it wiggle the feet out so there's less weight on the feet, maybe just the toes. Maybe lift the feet up, maybe straighten the legs, maybe not. You got a little bit just playing around if you feel into it. And then those of us, especially who are down here on the arms, can just go ahead and slide off of them and come down onto your feet. And then find a comfy thing to do with your legs. You're going to take your fingers into your armpits, relax your elbows down. And then thumbs into your armpits. Move back, drop your elbows down. Little chest and thumb stretch. And then relax back. Okay. So it's one of my favorite arm balances because it's a little bit less scary because your butt is designed to cushion you should you fall upon it. So it's kind of a fun way to play with Siddhivasana insect pose. We're going to take the reclining, resting, almost yin-like variation of Siddhivasana or insect pose here. I'm going to take the legs out fairly wide, so I've got my feet out wide. And I'm going to slide the torso down. And then see about bringing the hands back behind my feet. You can stay here. Might be in a little bit closer. I find wider generally works like fairly well. If you wanted to slide the legs out here, you could come up further. If this feels unnecessary and you would just like to have the legs open and press your chest forward that way, make that choice for yourself. We'll be here for about 2 more breaths. And start to lift yourself up. We're going to bring these legs in, slide the right leg on, and then cross the left leg over. We're going to come into a twist over towards the left side. Left arm in right behind you. Soften your belly. Look over your left shoulder. One more exhale. And then release your twist. We'll wrap up on the other side. Crossing the right arm over, twisting or cross the left arm, the right leg over. One more exhale. And releasing your twist. Sending your right leg out. Take your left leg and cross it over. I want to come to the pinky toe edge of the foot. And then try to get the heel as close to my hip as possible. Sometimes a little adjustment goes on there. My knees are almost directly stacked. And then coming forward, this is going to be big into your hamstring. If you want it to be a little less in your hamstring, a little bit more in your hips, you can walk your hands over towards the right a little bit. But I'm going to try to come forward here and leave my left hip rooted down. One more exhale. And then as you lift yourself up, I'm going to take the bottom leg, I'm going to tuck it in as well. I want to come forward so I can get both of my knees together. And then I'm going to sit back. And what I might do is grab like a block to go underneath my hips. You can stay here. Excuse me. Or start to come forward. Heart over your knees. Maybe coming in deeply, maybe not so much, especially if you don't have your hips up on anything. You'll hang out here for just a few more moments, folks. Staying for 3 more breaths. And then starting to unwind your legs. If you've been sitting up on anything, you'll want to set that out of your way. And then send the legs out in front of you. Your hands back, press your chest up and forward, and then let it relax. We're going to take now the right leg and cross it over. I want to come to the pinky toe edge of the foot, coming back on the side of my hip, and I'm not sitting up, sitting on the foot, not bringing the foot in any closer than my knee can handle, and then coming forward. You can go a little bit more over towards the foot if you want to get more hip, but I think you can still get a lot of hip here if you're willing to sit with the hamstring space. One more exhale. And then coming up, if you've got that bottom leg able to be tucked in here, might come forward to squeeze the knees together a little bit more, maybe taking a block back underneath the hips and staying seated, staying upright, or maybe bringing the hands forward a little bit or a lot. If you notice any tightness, any gripping in your hips, allow it permission to relax. It's a very reasonable response to the tight place and to get kind of grippy and resistant to these big stretches, but give yourself permission to relax. Invite that in your body. One more exhale. And start to come up. We're going to unwind the legs. We're going to come down to a seat off of a block. If you wanted to put maybe a blanket or a small pillow behind you, however you could do that. Let's take the left leg and tuck it and leave the right leg out. And then come forward, right over your foot, your shin, kind of in between your legs. One more exhale. Just starting to bring yourself up. You're gonna take your right hand down and then reach your left arm up and over, creating a little bit of space, giving yourself this upward reach through that hand. And then you'll take it up and over to the other side. So you're gonna take your hand down away from your hip. And then we're gonna reach up long through that right side. So reaching up, extending out through the right fingertips. Big breath in. And then hips coming back down. And we're gonna switch the legs. So coming forward, right in between the legs. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Once more like that. And coming up, sliding your left arm out along the left leg and reaching your right arm up and over. Find that reach. Find that expansion through the left side. Or the right side, sorry. And then coming up and finding that extension all the way up through the left side. And stargazer, pressing the hips and the heart up and forward. One more big reach. And then taking the hips down. We're going to take both legs, extend them out. If you'd like to return towards that intuck space here, you might have a little bit more room in your hips. Or if you wanted to do something different, just having legs extended coming forward, unless you did this the first time of the knee. Okay, do this again, and you know what I mean. You've got both options once more. About 2 more breaths. And then starting to walk back in. And we're going to take the legs in and you're going to fold both of your feet over towards your left side, and you've got this right shin forward. This foot is far-ish away from your hip. So to take the hands back, maybe you go down to your right elbow. Maybe down to your left elbow, but the left knee stays down. If anything, the hip lifts up. You've got room to go down any further if you feel inclined to do so. You're welcome to do so. Take a deep breath in. Settle into your exhale. Once more, take a deep breath in. Finding something to let go of as you breathe out. And then taking your left arm, crossing it over, giving yourself that little doggy paddle up to seated. And then switching the legs. So you're ready for the other side, this foot not being in super close to your hip. So we'll leave the right knee down as you come back, maybe to a forearm, maybe to two forearms, maybe down further. Letting all of the front space open up. Taking a deep breath in and relaxing with your exhale. Again, deep breath in. Soften something, then you breathe out. And then taking the right arm across, wiggling, walking yourself up to a seat. And then you'll take both legs up. We're going to come down onto our back. Feet a little bit wider than your hips, maybe about mat width apart. Take your arms back, reach them back or hold elbows, and then flex your toes, draw them up to your shins, let both knees go over towards the right, so that left knee reaching away as you soften your inner shoulders, your inner armpits, and coming up to the center and moving towards the other side, reaching the right knee away, softening your inner armpit. And come back to the center, bringing your arms by your sides, wiggle your feet in closer by your hips and your shoulder blades gently underneath the spine. So push the feet down and lift up, maybe holding hands behind your back. Let's just sort of snuggle the shoulders in more and come up fully into bridge pose, using the feet to press downward. Big breath in. Relaxing your shoulders as you exhale and soften the hips back down. We'll bring knees into the chest, and then outwards towards the armpits, and find happy baby again. And this time in happy baby, seeing how much more space you may have, or just how much more settled you might be in the space that exists there. Taking a different approach of being more soft with this one. Letting any spaces of tightness or restriction, letting it loosen up. Letting it melt away. And then releasing your feet. And sliding the left thigh on top of the right thigh. If you hop your hips a little bit to the left, go ahead and let the knees roll over as far as you want to the right. It might be a full twist. It might stop where the foot stops you. If you get to one and you're not sure it's right and you want to switch back to the other, you can always play around with that a bit before making a commitment. Just staying here for another 3 long, slow breaths. And unwind your legs and come back to the center. And slide your right thigh on top of your left. Hop your hips to the right. Let both legs go over towards the left in a twist that feels good in your body. Deep breath in, deep breath out. One more exhale. And then coming back to the center, letting your knees fall against each other with the feet rested on the floor. Bringing your arms down by your sides. Allow yourself to soften into the floor for a moment, and if there's anything else that you need at the end of your practice, feeling free to go there. If you'd like to rest with your legs extended or come up into a seated meditation, you have those other options. Enjoy this practice. taking some deeper breaths, perhaps, maybe some small movements. Eventually bringing yourself up into your own version of a comfortable seat. With your hands gathered at your heart lifted upward. We'll seal this practice by releasing one Om together. Big breath in. Bowing down to the light and the darkness, the love within each of our hearts. Namaste. Thank you all for being here. Have wonderful days.
Thanks, dear girl.
Bye. Thanks, Victoria. Bye, guys.